When it comes to the economy, no one can be certain exactly what's going to happen in 2024, but there are a lot of different ways that you can recession proof your finances, which is what we're going to be covering in this video today, going through 30 different things you can do with number one, building out that emergency fund. Now, of course, worst case scenario, if we have a soft landing, if we have a hard landing, if we end in a recession, regardless of what it's going to be, if you have that emergency fund built, if an emergency pops up, you're going to be able to cover it in its entirety without having to go back to borrowing. Now, of course, it seems like that the Federal Reserve is going to be holding interest rates for much higher than they were kind of anticipated in 2024. They thought there would be multiple reductions. Now they're saying there could be one or two reductions. A lot of people are also saying that there might not be any reductions at all in the Fed fund, the prime rate in 2024, which again could drive down some of the markets because the consumer price index is coming in still too high. Number two, budget review. You always have to be looking at your budget. Now, of course, the first time, it might take you a little while to kind of get in tune with your budget, knowing exactly what you're spending. But for a majority of us, the fixed expenses are what they are. When you look at a car payment, when you look at your mortgage, a lot of things in a budget are not going to change on a monthly basis, meaning that over a couple of months, you're going to get very familiar with what is in your budget. It is just going to be that want category or that spending category that can fluctuate a little bit with utilities. If you need something, again, unexpected expenses, but also knowing what you're going to save, what you're going to invest, and also what you do have for debt repayment can really make a big difference. And again, when it comes to a recession, number three, diversifying your investments. If you have diversification, even if, for instance, the tech sector takes a big dive, ultimately with a diversified investments and diversified portfolio, you're not going to feel the full impact if there is a recession. If we see a pullback to the S&P 500, again, having a multitude of investments in different streams is going to make a really big difference when it comes to recession proofing those finances. And then we get into my favorite, the debt reduction. This is really one of the absolute biggest ways, because what will happen is your income minus your expenses gives you whatever is left. What is left is really what you have to play with, what you have to save, what you have to invest. Lowering the cost of living, so lowering debt, lowering the expenses in your life will give you more paycheck to keep. And it is not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. I always say this a lot of times, because if you're making 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, if you're not keeping any of it because everything is going right towards debt, then it really doesn't make a difference. You might have nicer stuff, but you're still not going to have any money. Now, you couple that with a possible recession, you have to make sure that you really cover yourself in everything that you do carry. Now, looking at number five, evaluating your insurance. This is a big one that can really take a big hit when it comes to life insurance if there is an unexpected death, but making sure that your auto insurance is in tune, that your homeowner's insurance is in tune, that you have the coverage for everything you have just in case something happens, that it's not crushing your finances or taking all of your emergency fund, which again, a portion of that kind of goes towards insurance. If there is a true emergency, and I'm talking like $20, $30, $40,000, something catastrophic happen, that is where you rely on the insurance, whether it be, again, auto insurance, homeowner's insurance, or worst case scenario, life insurance, that you can cover a lot of those unexpected expenses. So make sure you do check that one out. Number six, we look at income streams. Just like I do here on YouTube, having a multitude of income streams makes a big difference. You could have a side hustle, you could have your regular job, you could have some dividends coming in, you could have some stocks, some bonds, a lot of different ways to make some income streams. But if you like what I'm putting out on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because this is an income stream that I am definitely working on. But again, the diversification of income, most people do not rely on a sole income anymore, because essentially when they're cutting back on the labor market or the job force, if you lose your job, now you go from making your regular paycheck to making absolutely zero if you don't have that backup income stream. Number seven, we look at evaluating the housing cost. Now, of course, this is a big one. When you start looking at what a home should cost, 20-25% of your take home should be the cost of your mortgage or the cost of your rent or the condo, wherever you're living. That is roughly what you should see when it comes to evaluating the expense of a house. However, realistically, we are seeing people that are 35%, 40, 45% of their income that are dedicated literally just to the house or the rent, which, as we continue to see that kind of increase year over year. We have higher mortgage rates, we have higher interest rates coupled with those mortgages and also a higher home value. It is very expensive. And I know for a lot of individuals, they're really almost priced out of the housing market is what we're seeing in a lot of different spaces, because even to get into a home, it's almost crazy expensive when you're talking $2,500 to $3,500 a month just for a mortgage in this area. Number 8, downsizing if necessary. This also could be changing your living situation. It might be taking on a roommate, might be renting out something, might be downsizing, because again, as home values continue to increase, if you're still carrying a mortgage and it's at a much higher rate, it is very expensive. This could also mean for some people going back to a renting space just to save an incredible amount of money you can because of utilities, and it does cost significant when it comes to owning a house. But again, you have to look at your budget and you have to see what you can afford. If you're going from a regular paycheck to a fixed income in retirement, downsizing for a lot of people does make a lot of sense, because not only one, the sheer cost of it, but number two, and the other part of that is because you don't need the space. If you're sitting in a 3,000 square foot house and it's only 2 individuals because all of the kids have grown up and left, downsizing could definitely be a possibility. Number 9, renting out unused space. That is right. Similar to the downsizing aspect of it, renting out space, even if it is short term, there are a lot of properties, and some people have summer properties, but looking at Airbnb, looking at, VRBO, there's a lot of different ways to not only rent out your space, but possibly renting out a room, making some additional income in that method, meaning, of course, you have multiple streams of income and you're utilizing your space the best that you can. Now, number 10, we look at your skill enhancement. This is the going back to school. This is getting, some of the diplomas. This is some of the professional training. You could be getting a bachelor's. You could be getting a master's. Really recession proofing your finances could mean that you upgrade your career to go into a field that you've always wanted, or a field that is going to be there, or it could even be a fallback, acquiring those new skills. I know when it comes to a lot of things, and again, kind of the side hustle piece, a lot of skills can be learned and taught online, completely online universities. Again, there's a lot of Google certifications to do different things in different fields that can generate additional revenue, if a supplement to your regular or a whole new income stream altogether. Now, looking at number 11, networking. This again is something that I feel a lot of people really overlook. When you're in your space, when you really build professional relationships within what you do, even here on YouTube, I have a whole group, shout out to the VRA Academy and the VRA fam, but a lot of Video Ranking Academy. It is a group of content creators in all different niches across everything that we do network with, that both online and offline, we have conversations. Really opens up a lot of collaboration opportunities, but you can do this really in any networking event or anything that you're in. A lot of these groups, even looking at chamber meetings and things of that nature, they are free to join, or they have a very minimal entry cost, which could be a really big return depending on the profession that you're in. Number 12, updating your resume. This, of course, is something that you have to do, always kind of keeping in mind what could be out there. Now, they've said if you're in the same position or job within 3 to 5 years, chances are, based on your skills and experiences that you've acquired at that job, you could go to another institution or another job, another career possibly, and make a lot more money than you are. Because unfortunately, the amount that we're seeing in raises at a traditional job is not outpacing what they are really paying for talented individuals to move into a new field, which again, updating the resume with your experience. Keep it updated on LinkedIn, put it out on Indeed, a couple different places, having that resume out there and just seeing what's out there. You never know, and really having the courage to take this step to move into a career or another job, another position that really better suits you and gonna offer you a lot more things for your family. Number 13, review your investment strategies. This is a big one that comes with age. As you start getting a little bit older, as you start moving more towards retirement, usually people will kind of downgrade their risk portfolio, meaning they're going to take a lot less risk when it comes to the investments themselves. But overall, you want to make sure that your risk tolerance aligns with your financial goals and you know exactly where you want to be within the next 3 to 5 years, and really keeping that in mind. When it comes to retirement, just pick a date. If it's going to be 62, 65, 67, You can always kind of adjust and kind of change the path as needed. But if you're an individual that does want to retire early, keep that goal in mind when you're making financial decisions, which could make a really, really big difference. Number four, cash holdings. That is right. A lot of people still say that cash is king. And I agree with this to a point because essentially, with cash, you have kind of a depreciating asset, meaning that the buying power of your cash will go away as the years go on due to inflation. Now, of course, with this, we don't mean cash, maybe some cash holding, but overall, even for my cash holding, I keep it liquid. I keep it in a high yield savings account because my cash is turning into more cash. As long as I'm keeping pace or staying ahead of my inflation number, my cash is going to grow that I have in there, which of course is where I house the emergency fund. Now, of course, some of this doesn't mean physical bills, having $100 bills laying around your house, because again, you can lose money, but having some to the side definitely does make sense because there are still a lot of things that make more sense. And it is a different feeling when you're paying with cash. Honestly, if you want to test this, go to your bank, go to your financial institution, your credit union, wherever it may be, take out a couple $100 in cash and pay for things in cash. It literally feels different when you pay in cash versus using your card, debit card, or credit card to actually give up the the cold hard cash to break those $100 bills. Makes a big difference, and a lot of people will second guess buying whatever they are because they don't want to give up that money. Now, number 15, researching safe havens. Now, this, of course, when you look at precious metals, when you look at bonds, when you look at some of the things with a lot more stability, when it comes in a recession, we know they perform incredibly well, or we don't see really the volatility with it to where the stock market might come down 20, 25%. Most of the time, we don't see that with more of the stability that, again, government bonds can provide. And a lot of times in recession, just like we've seen, again, looking at 2022, a lot of money went from the stock market, moved right over into the bond market because bonds were actually paying it. We've seen a lot of money go into those CDs. We've seen a lot of money go into the high yield savings accounts because ultimately the risk is not there. The return is pretty decent, but overall with a much lower risk factor, people were moving the money there, not knowing exactly what that impact of COVID was going to be. The number 16, and this is one of my favorite, frugality. That is right. It is time to get frugal with the recession coming. Again, if it comes, if it doesn't really make a big difference, but you really have to distinguish between the needs and the wants, but also looking at what is going to give you the most value. That is really the big thing. When I talk about frugality and really being frugal, it is not about being cheap. It is about being and getting the most for your money. Like we said before, is it buying, 10 of one things that you're going to replace every month? Or is it buying one thing that is the same cost as all 10 of those, but you have it for 3 to 5 years? Really knowing the value and the cost efficiency of buying better quality items can make a big difference on your entire life. Number 17, cutting those unnecessary expenses and subscriptions, which means, of course, when you look at Amazon, when you look at Netflix, when you look at literally everything that has a subscription, I mean, from car washes that have subscriptions to, your streaming services, your gym memberships, everybody is bidding and really wants those couple dollars. If it's $5 here, $7 there, $20 there, it adds up. They've even said on a national average, people are paying more than $200 a month for subscription services in the United States. When you look at premium memberships, you can save a ton of money. Really evaluating, are you using them? If you're an individual that has, let's say, 3 to 5 streaming services, how often are you watching TV? And honestly, how much time and effort are you putting into that television to watch 3 or 5 streaming services and really get the value on the month-to-month basis? That might be another point to really reiterate exactly how much time you're spending watching TV if you find a ton of benefit for those. Number 18, we get into the DIY, which is, of course, the do-it-yourself. With the rise of YouTube, which of course is a platform that you can kind of learn anything, it's incredibly easy to do DIY projects, as well as looking at Lowe's, looking at Home Depot. We even have Floor and Decor here. We have a lot of different places that will literally teach you anything you need to know through workshops, through seminars, through webinars, bunch of different ways that you can learn how to do things as a DIY, not only saving you a ton of money, but also the quality of work that is being completed. And of course, a lot of things, I had issues with a lawnmower, I had issues with a snowblower. Going on YouTube, doing the search, I found out how to fix it. Even had issues with my Bowflex machine down in the basement. Exact same thing, quick YouTube search, found a video on it, fixed it myself, didn't have to call a repairman, didn't have to take it anywhere to be fixed. I did it myself and I saved myself the money. Number 19, prioritizing your health. This is a huge one. When you look at the preventative healthcare, this is one of the first things, unfortunately, that a lot of people do cut out of a budget. When they're not going to their regular doctor visits, you're really going to doctor's visits will prolong your life. That's exactly what it is. But looking at regular exercise, looking at healthier eating, looking at cleaner eating, there has to be things in your life that you're going to prioritize. And again, some of those do come with a price tag, but some of them come that are absolutely free. We have a lot of individuals that do like yoga around here, which we can do for free on YouTube. A lot of exercises or gym memberships that go unused. Again, you can do body weight exercises on YouTube. You just have to get the motivation, and knowing the methodology makes a lot of sense when you can save the money by just kind of doing it yourself. Number 20, your mental health. This is something you have to make sure you have to check in with yourself. You have to understand really prolonging stress management is a big one. Maintaining a healthy work-life balance. Since we have the ability to work from home, a lot of people are putting in a ton of extra hours, but there has to be time for you. There has to be time not only for self-development, but really for self-reflection, making and checking in with yourself. Now, we have seen, unfortunately, since COVID, a lot of mental health issues, a lot of breakdowns, because a lot of people are not having exposure to other individuals. So we know as humans, most of us are pretty social animals. Even having conversations with people outside of our social circle does make a big difference, and it does promote positive mental health, which I feel a lot of people are kind of missing just because of the fact that we have been locked in for really too long at this point. And a lot of people really didn't know how to turn that back on. Now, number 21, research assistance programs. Now, these are huge when it comes to community relations and community development. There are a lot of programs out there that are free to a lot of individuals, especially if you're low income, if you're minorities. There's a lot of stuff out there, again, that programs, even here in Michigan where we live, there's a ton of programs that will help improve your house. They'll give you money for a roof. They'll do home repairs. They'll do supplements for childcare. There's a ton of programs out there that are offered through not only the county, but also the state level to help really people get through the difficult points that we do have in life. Looking at number 22, tax planning. Now, we're almost done with our list of 30, but tax planning is essential. There is a point you have to optimize your tax situation. This can be the utilization of your HSA accounts. This can be your IRA accounts. This can be your 401ks. There's a lot of ways to reduce your tax liability, which of course is going to not only save you money in the long run, but by saving that money, it is also giving you the power to invest. And again, putting money into your 401k and your HSA are really a huge priority because of course, there's going to be a point in life, regardless of who you are, when you want to retire and you want to make sure that you're getting there long before you're actually planning on retiring. The number 23, buying used items. This is a huge one when it comes to cars, buying them new or buying those used. When it comes to secondhand shops, a lot of people buy it used. When it comes to thrift shopping, it can really be an adventure when you're looking for some used things. But overall, again, looking at the frugality part of it, making sure that the benefit is there. You know, again, you can buy some things that are cheap secondhand that are not going to really suit your needs, or you're going to be replacing them very soon. But there are things, again, like automobiles that I feel used is the way to go, just because of the big depreciation aspect that we do see when it comes to those used vehicles. Number 24, we look at bulk purchases. Now, of course, I'm a big fan of BJ's. We have them here and they are a bulk store, kind of like your Costco, kind of like Sam's Club. But overall, when it comes to this, you have to be careful. Household goods. So when we're talking paper towel, toilet paper, Kleenex, it is incredibly cheap to buy them in bulk, which I highly recommend. But where you have to be really careful is when it comes to food. We don't want to be overbuying and essentially overbuying food that is just going to go to waste, that you're throwing it away because it's rotting or it's going bad before it's used. There are some things that work, again, incredibly well when it comes to bulk. And there's a lot of things that I do not recommend to anyone buying in bulk, just because chances are you're not going to go through all of it. Now, again, this is kind of a game that you can play in seeing exactly different ways. For instance, we'll buy like frozen chicken in bulk. We'll go ahead, we'll clean it all. We will freeze it individually in vacuum sealed bags, meaning that we are literally paying probably 50% of what most people pay if they're going to Kroger, if they're going to Meijer, if they're going to Publix, a couple different places. And overall, it's incredibly cheap. Does take a little bit of prep work, but overall, the cost savings is astronomical when you start adding it up in weeks, then months, into years. Now, number 25, energy efficiency. This is one you want to lower your utility bills. Not only that, the government does have a lot of incentives when it comes to the energy efficiency of a home. This could be solar panels, this could be new doors and windows, this could be added insulation. A lot of the cost that is associated with it, not only will you get back as a tax credit for the environmental sustainability, but overall, not only that will you lower your heating bills and your heating costs, your air conditioning costs, which we know energy costs have went up dramatically, which means this could be a pretty big savings for you. Now, 26 is financial literacy. Thank you for joining me for this journey. Financial literacy is huge. It is something that we do not teach in school to enough people. And even some that do get a little bit of education might not get the best quality of education. That is the reason, and literally the reason why I started this YouTube channel was not only the debt-free journey, but the financial literacy that I see of individuals that I do financial counseling with on a regular basis. When it comes to fundamental things, when you look at strategies, when you look at planning, when you look at investing, majority of people are never taught this nor told about this when it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes to taxes. How do you file? When do you file? Again, a lot of things that are not taught in school, which was, again, one of the springboards why I started this YouTube channel. Number 27, an educated family when it comes to finances. This is one thing that I feel a lot of people miss, is having the conversation with your spouse, but also including your kids, making sure that everyone is on the same page where we're spending money, exactly where the money is going, and making sure and holding us accountable to not overspending. If you plan to take a vacation, put it in the budget. If you guys love to go out to eat, if you love to go into the movies, put it in the budget. As long as you're working everything into that budget, that is exactly how it needs to be. Now, of course, it might mean that you're adjusting it kind of along the way. If you put too much money in the budget, of course, somewhere else it's going to have to be pulled for, but that way you're not utilizing your credit cards to really supplement all of your income. Number 28, we look at a legal review. Now, of course, this is our wills, this is our trust, power of attorneys, contacts. I have seen too many individuals that pass and literally the family is left with a big question mark, wondering where everything is at. Where did they bank? What do they pay? Where did the money come from? Where is the life insurance? Where's the investment accounts? You shouldn't have to hunt and find everything when someone passes. You and your spouse, your kids, whoever is going to be caring for you, as we have an elderly and an aging parents and grandparents, you have to make sure you know exactly where everything is at, because ultimately you don't want to miss something. If you miss something like a life insurance policy, when someone passes, that could be the funeral cost, that could be the investment account, that could be something that is going to send, your kids or your grandkids to college. Make sure you have everything in order long before it is needed. I see a lot of people that are looking to try to get, power of attorney paperwork when they're already in hospice or when they're on their deathbed. It's kind of trying to catch up before you really should. You should have probably planned that 5, 10, 15 years ago. And even now, it doesn't cost an incredible amount. And a lot of places actually, again, through the county, do these services for free. You just have to reach out and find them. Number 29, we look at insurance claims. That is right. Making sure you know your insurance, you know your policy, making sure that you have the adequate coverage for the house that you have. Again, as the home values continue to go up, where 10 years ago we were sitting around 300,000, now we're almost to 600,000. That is right, doubled in value in the last 10 years. Making sure that you have the insurance and the rebuild costs that kind of go hand in hand with that. If you've had the exact same insurance for a multitude of years, chances are your coverage might be a little bit lower than you need. That way, if you ever do have a claim or God forbid anything happens like a fire or a flood at your house, you're going to make sure that you are covered for everything that is here, including the contents, not just the value of the home. And looking at number 30, your consumer rights. Knowing your consumer rights and consumer protection laws, quick search can really help you make informed decisions when it comes to consumer reports. This is another one, but making sure that there's no unfair practices, there's no disputes, there's no, even when it comes to products, that there's no recalls, that there's nothing for your vehicle. There's a lot of stuff that we buy that if you didn't sign up with that little warranty card, which is pretty funny to think, you wouldn't get notified if something was wrong. We actually had an air fryer. They had a major defect in it. It was a recall that we happened to stumble across over on Facebook, meaning that we got a brand new air fryer. They recalled the other ones because it was catching on fire, which of course in your home, you don't want an air fryer catching on fire, really makes for a very, very bad meal. All right, guys, so that is 30 things you can do to prepare for the recession, and I'll catch you in the next video.